guys, my name is Kathy, and thank you so much for coming to my channel, Crafty Kathy. Today I have a big treat for you. We are doing some French country DIYs, and we're just going to jump right into them because we have a lot to cover. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like this video. And let's get started. Let's jump right in to DIY number 1. This is a little Christmas trinket / treasure box that I found at a thrift store for $2, maybe $3. But you open it up and it has some little hangers inside. I'm really not sure what this box is for, but you know, as with thrifted items, you can use it for whatever you want. So I started off by giving it just a little rough sanding, not much at all, just a little here and there. Then I gave it 2 full coats of Waverly's Crimson Red, and I was trying to be lazy and not take off all the little hangers and stuff. And then in a little while, it just got to be aggravating, so I went ahead and took those off in case you were wondering. And I did leave all the hinges and stuff on, but I'm going to show you a little trick to color those while they're still on there that you won't have to pull them all off if you don't want to, because hinges are the worst. I just, for whatever reason, really loathe taking those out. Don't ask me why. It's not that it's a big deal, but, you know. Anyways, I gave this 2 full coats on everything except for the roof and that front little picture. I also painted the inside with that red. And then I'm just going to give the top 1 good coat of the black color by Home Decor, which is called Ink. I made sure to get under it, under the little eaves and all around all the areas that is the roof. I hope everyone's having a good week so far and that you guys are in a Christmassy mood with all these Christmas DIYs that are popping up. I know I just put one out like 2 or 3 days ago, but I was asked by these lovely ladies to do a collab, and we're doing around the world. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that just a little bit later on in the video, but we were to pick a country, and whatever country we wanted to do, of course I picked France, and I'm doing French country. I also got the bottom part that goes around here. I painted all that part black too. See, I told you guys I took the hardware off. I painted underneath that little area where that clasp was, and then I chose this gorgeous cardstock paper that I got from Amazon. It's always in my Amazon store below, and I pushed down with my fingers to feel where to cut it at. This is the back side of it, by the way, where I'm cutting. It's lovely double-sided, very thick cardstock. So I cut it out and I laid it down. I'm going to use my trusty Mod Podge, and I put a good layer of this on, and then I just put my paper down. Since this cardstock is so thick, I made sure that I kind of put not really a thick layer, but it wasn't goopy, but I put a pretty good substantial layer on, making sure that the sides and the corners get on there really well. We definitely don't want those popping up after it dries. I also traced the sides of the little box with my fingernail the exact same way, and I cut that out. And where the hinges are, I had to push down a little extra hard because this cardstock is so thick, and so I just cut 2 small little areas where it's going to allow that to open, because that's a little door where you can see inside. So far, we've got the back and the side covered. Now we're going to do the other side. Now this is the side where the door actually does open at. So it's got a little hinge that's kind of poking out. Made it a little bit easier to feel around. But this cardstock is really, really thick. And so it was kind of tough. And a lot of times if a cardstock paper is just has one side to it, it's a little bit easier to see where you're cutting because you can see the pattern through the other side. Here's where I was having just a little bit of trouble trying to get over that hinge because the paper was so thick. But I finally did it, and I got my little side piece cut out. And we're simply going to just Mod Podge this down. I put the same amount of Mod Podge. Like I said, it's not goopy, but it's a really good thick layer. Now we're going to get the roof. Now this part is basically like a triangle, and I push down with my fingernail to get all of the area. But this part did not have to be as perfect as the other parts because I plan on outlining that area with something. I'm not sure yet what I'm going to put around the top of it, but it's just going to have something to outline it, to bring attention to it. I put down my Mod Podge and then I just laid the cardstock down over the top. Now we're going for the picture in the front. I did the exact same thing using my fingernail to press down so I can kind of keep my bearings and know exactly where to cut out. I cut it out and it came out perfect the first time. So I did my Mod Podge, and I didn't put as much Mod Podge this time because I can kind of push those edges up underneath a little eave that's on there. And then I just went around with my little finger sander and sanded off any areas that were maybe hanging over just a little. A few weeks ago, I picked up this adorable little deer in my Hobby Lobby haul, and I'm going to paint him with my Waverly Antique Wax and then just wipe it off with a baby wipe. Now, in the French country scheme of decor, they use a lot of deer, so I thought that he was going to be perfect to go on the front of my box. I have some beautiful lace ribbon that was sent to me by burlapfabric.com, and it's 2.5 inches, which is way too thick, and so I just cut off the very tip end of it, and I'm using my fingers and a little screwdriver to kind of push it down underneath the eaves around the front of this little house. I'm also using my hot glue gun, but I don't have to use so much of it because I am pressing it down underneath these eaves. When I found the placement of where I wanted my deer, I just hot glued him right down to the front. Then I burn off a couple little fuzzies that came off of that lace ribbon. I have a small pick that's a little pine pick. I think it came from the Dollar Tree, and I am just curling it in a little round formation to make it look like a wreath, and I'm going to use my scissors to give it a quick little haircut, and I'm going to place this right in the center of my house. I cut off a few of those pit berries that comes on the pit berry garland from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to use those as the little berries in my wreath, and I just hot glued those right down kind of here and there. I got some white paint on my little chippy brush, and I'm going to gently go over the roof just to kind of make it look like it's old and rustic. Not necessarily to make it look like it has snow on it, but I guess you could say that too. I go around the eaves of the little box also. I also cover any areas on the front of the box and around that front picture and try to get it good and distressed. And I definitely can't forget my wreath. Now, here's the little tip I was telling you guys. I do this a lot of times when I'm being lazy, and that's exactly what I was doing, but I just use my little paint pen. It's black, or you can use a black Sharpie to color your little hinges. And then I just place those back on. And then I took my white Arteza chalk marker and I just go around this deer because I feel like the outlining of him just kind of makes him pop a little bit more, and I like the way that that looks. Then I went around the box with my black Arteza chalk marker, and I'm just going to go around the square of the box, and I also go a little bit around the deer too. My cardstock paper came with some awesome stickers, and I picked one that said Joey in the middle of it, and it has a little wreath around it, and I just thought that that looked perfect right beside my reindeer. I also picked a very small rectangular shaped sticker that says deck the halls, and I put that right underneath, my dear. And then I went around that with my black paint marker. I put a pretty good thick layer of Mod Podge along the top part of my roof, and I'm using Epsom salt and faux snow from the Dollar Tree to create a snow effect. I'm going to get that all over the top of the roof, in the front of the roof, and make sure that I get on the eaves of the roof and around the edges. And then I simply just add all the hardware back inside my box, and I left the one on the back off because I don't have any intentions of hanging it up. I took some of that thick jute twine, the kind that comes from Walmart. It's a little bit thicker than the Dollar Tree. And this is what I decided to go all around the front part of my roof with. I just wanted to line it. Plus, if you do things like this, you don't have to be so perfect on the cutting of your cardstock, which wasn't a problem, but I thought that it looked super good being outlined by the jute twine. I burn off any fuzzies that the jute twine created. And I kind of laid my house back so that I could put a little bit of the Mod Podge on the very front part, the eave, I guess you would call it, of the house, and put some more of my snow there. And the finishing touch is a bow from the Dollar General.
Making our Christmas memories. I've been working so much lately, I can barely find the time to sleep. Yeah, I spend my time running around, keeping people pleased. But this is my favorite holiday.
For DIY number 2, we are creating a gorgeous wood round. I got this wood round hanger from the Dollar Tree. These are a new item at the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to give it 2 coats of my white home decor chalk paint. I made sure to use my little hand dryer and have it completely dry in between my coats. And then I just went around and gave it a quick little sanding with my sanding sponge from the Dollar Tree. For the outer ring, where it's going to be painted red, I used 631 vinyl stencil from Oracle, and it's basically just a circle that you lay down, and I used a little sponge and my Waverly Crimson chalk paint, and I go around with my sponge to paint this red. I probably went around this area 2 or 3 times just to make sure it's a very good, full, vibrant red. And then I pull it up to reveal a perfect little outer ring of red. I want to lay down the very center part of my picture first, and it says North Pole, that's the center, so I laid it down and I measured and made sure it was an exact right placement, and then I'm just going to go down and burnish it, and then I'm going to pull that off. I really took my time with this because there was a lot of little intricate pieces to this. The second part I put down was the bottom part that says milk and cookies served every day or daily, something to that effect. And this part was a headache, y'all. It was very small pieces and it gave me a fit. I had to sit and fool with this for probably a good 30 minutes, just this one piece. But it was because the pieces were so small. And then the middle piece that I put down says bed and breakfast, and it was a little difficult, but not as tough as that bottom part. It's just that this SVG had a lot of little small parts, little intricate parts, and little small words. I'm going to link this in the description box below. I got it off of Etsy. The next part that I put down was the part with the reindeer and the trees up toward the top, and it was super easy to put that part down. Then the last part that I put down says to all a good night, and it goes across the top, and it was also easy. I had a certain image in my head of what I wanted for this. I wanted this round to be 3D and I wanted to put it on some wood. So I had to measure out my wood because it was just a little bit too long and I had to cut it down some. After I cut it down, I put just a little bit of wood glue there and then I put 2 braces on the back to make sure that it's going to be good and strong and sturdy. And just for a little extra security, I also added some hot glue on the back of those braces when I put them down. All right, and then I'm going to take some of the Waverly Antique Wax and just kind of go over the front of the sign and all around different little parts of my wood. Then I've got this styrofoam round piece that I got at a thrift store for like 10 cents, and that's what I'm going to use to pop out the front of my sign. Or not pop it out, but you know what I'm saying, make it look 3D. So I put down my hot glue and then I lay that down. Then I glued my sign to that piece of styrofoam. I got 2 picks that I got from the Walmart for 98 cents a piece. And since I put styrofoam underneath this wood round, I can just use that to pop those picks right down into that, and that way I can have the flowers or whatever that I want popping all around my sign. In no particular fashion, I used some of the boxwood from Walmart, I think that Walmart has, I think they call it eucalyptus. It looks like the boxwood to me. It's 2 different kinds. And I also used some of the pine picks that I got off of Amazon a few weeks ago. And then I used a couple of the little picks that I got from Walmart and some white berries that came from the Dollar Tree. And I'm so proud of how this turned out. It really wasn't that difficult to make, and I think it's beautiful.
Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and far away. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. While shepherds camped, they're watching over silent flocks by night. Behold, throughout the heavens they shone a holy light. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and far away. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. The shepherds feared and trembled when low above the earth rang out the angel.
I am so proud to be a part of this collab with these lovely ladies. We each got to pick out our own country, hence the name Around the World, and we were going to do some of the Christmas traditions from that country. And for me, it was a no-brainer. I love French country. I think it's beautiful. I'm going to leave a link to the playlist in my description box below, and I hope that after you guys watch my video that you will go through and watch these other ladies. There's so many to pick from, you can't go wrong, and I think that this is going to be a good, awesome thing. Also, each channel is going to be doing its own giveaway, and each channel has its own rules. Now, to get into my giveaway, I'm going to let you know toward the end of the video the special word that you have to put in the comment box. And we are going to do a $20 gift card on my channel. The giveaway is for U.S. residents only, and they're for my subscribers. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that little red subscribe button and that bell. And then a little drop-down menu will appear. And when you click all, YouTube is going to let you know every single time that I upload a video. So make sure you become a subscriber if you haven't already and get in on that giveaway. Let's get into DIY number 3. I got this cookie jar at Goodwill for like $2, and I'm just going to take it outside and hit it with that white Rust-Oleum spray paint 2 or 3 times, and I use that 2 times Rust-Oleum. Now, I printed off these pictures of Santa Claus. It was just on pixabay.com. I'm going to leave you with the image down below in my description box. And all I'm going to do is put some Mod Podge down and then put my picture down. It's very super easy to do this. This is probably the easiest DIY out of all of these. So I just put my Mod Podge down, and you put it on the actual cookie jar itself and on the back of the picture. Now you don't want to put too much because that photo paper is very thin, or the copy paper, I'm sorry, is very thin. And all you do is you start from the center and you press down, and then you go to the outsides and then start pressing those down. Now every once in a while I will get a wrinkle. It depends on how big your image is. Sometimes if your image is too big and you have a curved surface like this, it's almost impossible not to get a wrinkle. But on this image, it's supposed to look like an old wrinkly image anyways, so that's kind of in our court. You know what I'm saying? So it worked to my advantage and it came out great. However, if you do start to get a wrinkle, just wet a rag a little bit like I did here, and you use that to touch your image. If you start using or touching that image too much with your fingers, you're going to pull that paper away, and you definitely don't want that.
We forgot what you came for. In the coffee shop just next door.
You can see here on the left side of the paper, about halfway up, what I'm talking about. It looks like a rip in where he's ripping the paper open. Let's get into number 4. Number 4 is another Goodwill find. I found this cute little tree at the thrift store, and I just gave it a really rough coat of white paint on the base. Then I take a beautiful Christmas napkin that I have, and to me it just looks like a French country Christmas napkin, so I decided to use that. I cut it in half because the whole half of this image is what you want to use. It was 2-ply, so you pull that ply off, and then I put down my Mod Podge, just a little bit of Mod Podge here, and I used my Saran Wrap and my little Mod Podge roller, and there was not a single wrinkle in this. I have a little paper book that I got from Hobby Lobby that's got different pieces of cardstock in it, and I chose a little music sheet and I put that on the sides, and then I put the exact same image on the back. I use my little sanding sponge from the Dollar Tree to get off any rough edges. The napkin comes off so beautifully with the sanding sponge, but you have to wait until it's completely dry. Now the cardstock is a little bit tougher, so you got to try to make sure that you get that perfect square cut out there, or I try to, and it was very, very easy and had very little to have to sand. Next, I went through and made a little garland out of these beautiful white and red buffalo check little beads that I got off of Amazon. I absolutely love these. I've been using them for all my Christmas crafts, and I can use them for Valentine's Day too. But I just made a small garland that I'm going to wrap around my tree. These beads come in a pack of 100, so I had plenty of beads to use to make my garland, and I just string it around 3 different times going up my tree. I wanted to keep my tree super simple, so I just added some pine cones from the Dollar Tree, and also in the package of pine cones comes these little hard-dried flowers, and I used those too, and that was it. I just added a couple of the small ornaments that I did in my ornament video the other day that had 20 ornaments. If you want to enter the giveaway, you need to be a subscriber, and in the comments, you need to put the word Noel. That is my secret answer. Make sure to go check out everyone else's video. Bye.